Are you ready for the ultimate bikepacking weekend adventure? Join us for an unforgettable self-supported bikepacking trip through Southwest Virginia. The Grayson Gravel Pie Bikepacking Adventure travels along the Virginia Creeper Trail, the beautiful gravel roads of Grayson County, Virginia, and the New River Trail. All lodging and camping arrangements are included, along with daily routes and guides riding along with you. This self-supported adventure offers resupply opportunities every 20 miles for your food and water needs. Find out more at graveltraveldirt.com.
You're listening to Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian.
I'm Joey.
And I'm Jess.
Howdy, friends. I'm Cynthia.
This, folks, is episode 204 of Mid-Atlantic Gravel Travel Dirt. Words are hard. Still hard. Been doing this 204 times, and it's still hard. If you're new here, folks, this is a podcast we talk about gravel bikes, adventure biking, bikepacking, bike camping, or just playing bikes. On this episode, a very special episode, we're going to chat with Cynthia Frazier from Velocio 3T Exploro Team to talk about Unbound XL, Badlands, race across the Andes, and we're going to hit on Gravista as well. Cynthia, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks. Stoked to be here.
I think this is like your third or fourth time to be back with us, I believe. I can't remember.
Yeah, I definitely, maybe third or fourth time. Maybe third, I think.
I think you actually have more episodes under your belt now than Wes. Maybe.
Oh. Winning.
Before we get to all the good stuff, though, we have got some great discount codes for our listeners on either the Salt Stick website or the JoJ website. When you reach the checkout, use the code LOVEYOUBUY. Take 20% off all your items. And over at Cutaway USA, use the discount code GTD20 to take 20% off your order. I'm going to put those discount codes and the links in the show notes. Cynthia, have you ever used Salt Stick or JoJ?
I use Salt Stick in every single one of my races and have since like forever.
Yeah.
And JoJ, I actually, when they first started, lived in San Diego, and I knew the owners and got to like try the first couple flavors that they were starting out with. So nice. Yes, I have. Yeah.
We've been very impressed with their products.
Friend, now when
I
also eat my salt sticks, I will think of you.
Yes, they are basically what gets me through all of my ultra races.
Hell
so
yeah.
Very good.
Nice score. Joey, do we have a crack of the week?
Yes, sorry.
What are we having over there?
I just wanted the bubbly, but I had to. I don't know. It's from Illinois, Distill Brewery, peanut butter porter.
Peanut butter porter.
That sounds interesting.
It's good. It's like a better version of Sweet Baby Jesus.
A better version. We were just talking about that in the pre-show.
I don't drink a lot of beer now, so like I got a 6-pack of these. I'll have one.
I had to teach you how to use your soda stream. You've been under bubbling your water, and you've got to add much more bubbles.
Yeah,
much more bubbles.
Run down.
Well, thank you for the crack of the week. I appreciate that. We had a ride over MLK Day. It was fantastic.
It was. It's supposed to be the day before, but it was blowing like 40, 50 miles an hour here.
Yeah, the little wind Bitmoji or little wind thing is on the weather app. I know I can't ride that day. That's what Joey tells me. The little wind symbols.
Our friend Gail was here.
We are not allowed to ride.
Yeah.
How far did we end up tallying? It was
just over 40 because of I screwed up ride with GPS.
It was such a pleasant ride, though. Cynthia, you ever had one of those rides where it's like, nobody cares about how fast you're going and everybody's just chatting and spending time together and having fun? That's the best.
Yeah.
It is. I love rides like that.
Yeah.
It was my first drop bar ride since like...
That's right. You were
October.
on the Libre. I loved the tire Instagram reel for the Terra Burn Washman.
Oh my God. It's not my fault. I don't know what tires I have. This morning I was talking to Joey. I was like, are they tires or are they wheels? And he's like, if I have to explain this one more time. I was like, sorry.
It was fun though.
Yes.
That was fun. Joey, did you have a crash on your...
on Thursday night? Yeah, that's why I was afraid of riding on.
What happened?
I had a mountain bike crash.
What happened?
We were going pretty... the problem is I'm riding with like teenagers.
Okay.
And I'm in my early 30s.
That's why I don't ride.
And it was a little muddy, and then under the mud, I clipped a root, which shot my front wheel into a tree, and then I bruised a rib, and then I have a huge bruise right here, which hurt pedaling a little bit.
Oh, I'm glad you're
Which
okay.
is the first time in like a long time I've had something like that happen. So I'm very grateful. Nothing like I got the wind knocked out of me.
Yeah.
But then I was able to get back on a couple days later and ride with you guys.
Good. I'm glad it didn't have any lasting impact.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I already have. I'm already at half
I
lung
don't
capacity
know.
right now. And then
Cynthia, how often do you go down on your bike?
A lot probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to mountain bike, and so yeah, I've got a shiner on my knee from I was in Richmond last week, and I rode on the trails there. I don't know if you've ever heard of the trail Buttermilk,
Yeah.
but it's very technical, and I was like not paying attention, and the sun was setting, and somehow I just clipped a pedal and just ran my knee right into a rock. So it's tender, but it happens.
that trail claimed a concussion on one of my employees this summer too.
Ooh, owie.
That's
Yeah.
where that happened. You were talking
Yeah.
about that.
I'm glad I got out without a concussion. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's a beautiful trail system.
It is super fun.
all right, Joe, you want to jump over to Strava Club?
Yeah, real quick. Top 100. So we have Baron Matthews from Madison, Missouri with 105. Chris,
Is that Missouri or Mississippi?
I don't know.
Okay, it's one of the two.
Yeah. Chris Richardson from Greenville, Delaware with 120.7. Eric Schoonover
Eric.
from
our friend Eric.
Canton, Pennsylvania with 120.9. We only needed 140 miles for the top 100.
104.
Oh, man. I told you in numbers.
We're both
What is going on with you today?
We're both really bad at this.
I get my
think
eyes
it's what-
checked next week. We're up to 884 members, though.
Nice.
And that's strava.com/clubs/gravel travel dirt.
Super
Excellent.
cool.
Excellent. So Cynthia, let's dive in. We were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show. You had a breakout year in 2022. I believe it's fair to call it that.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that, but you're right. I had a good year this last year.
The Unbound XL win,
Hmm.
a second place at Badlands, right? And then a win at Race Across Andies.
Yeah, I also won Bear Roubaix, the Psycho Killer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I got second at Gravel Miami, so that was cool.
I remember that. I almost went down for Gravel Miami. How was that?
It was fine. I mean, like it was a flat Florida sandy race along there were like waterways there. And in February, it's great. I did have fun. I actually really enjoyed it. I'm not going back this year. But that's because the race is too short for me now. 100 miles is not long enough.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a good race. So anybody interested in going, it's definitely a nice February warm weather race to do.
And that's what I was looking at it for, because it was, I guess last year, that time of the year, it was really cold here, and I was just looking for something to get away, to get someplace warm. And I
was like wearing shorts and bibs, and I got a tan. And everyone's.
I think I had to be in Florida to visit my daughter that same weekend, so it would have been just like a hop, skip, and a jump from Orlando down to Miami, and it just didn't pan out, didn't work out, so didn't end up doing it. But it looked like fun. It looked like a fun time.
I really appreciate flat rides. Because I just like flat rides. It's things that don't have hills. I'm like, oh yes, okay, I can finally hang out with everybody. So
yeah, it's definitely a flat ride. I think the elevation gain was like 400. It's like $150 when you do it. You're like 700 feet elevation gain. It's the same thing.
Friend, we are going to do the $150, but not the whole 150. Joey's and I's goals is to do the 100.
Okay.
That's
Last
amazing.
year, I didn't make it in for the 100 on my time limit.
Oh, you can do it this year.
Yeah, so fingers crossed, friends. Fingers crossed.
You were strong on our ride on Monday.
Yep.
And I don't want to say I was surprised, because I'm not, but you just were really strong. You're like, I didn't see any crack or any chink in the armor. You were just like riding. And it was fantastic.
I mean, I know Cynthia could probably go with this. It's all about like headspace mentality, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're feeling good, you're going to have a good ride. Like
She wasn't in a good one for Croatan last year.
yeah. So this one I'm excited to, I've been working really hard on my mental strength when I'm cycling.
Yeah.
So
Visualization.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing when I did Gravel Worlds, I visualized me finishing. Like that's the only thing I thought of was finishing the race. And then I was able to do it. So I've been really working on headspace while riding longer distances.
It's really important for sure.
So,
Definitely how I get through all my rides.
I was going to ask. I mean, you jump right in with visualization? Is that something that's big in your world? I mean, I know a lot of athletes do it.
Yeah, I like to think that it is, and I think maybe I do subconsciously, but not purposely. I'm not like sitting there thinking like watching myself finish, but I do think about the route and I think about myself riding through different places and stuff like that. So
being prepared, then it sounds like.
Yeah, I try to be prepared as much as I can.
Prepare to succeed. That's a big part of it. A lot of people I think get that confused. Just preparing is not enough. You need to prepare to succeed.
Yeah, I like to say practice makes prepared. That's like so practicing like bike gear and all the things makes you prepared. It just make you perfect because you can't be perfect. It's ultra cycling or just cycling in general. But
nice.
So speaking of which, sorry, I'm off on a tangent. Not a tangent. Prepared wise, so what was like Andy's like your big one of the year? Because like Badlands and Unbound are also big, or were you using those to help you prepare, or did they just happen to help you prepare?
Yeah, I guess I don't really like plan very well. I kind of just like be like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing, and then I decide. So I decided I was gonna do Badlands pretty early on. It looked really cool on Instagram, and I was like, I want to do that race.
Nice.
So I prepared for that race all year. Like Unbound was more of just like a good long training ride. Same with Rockstar. That was just something that like I was using to prepare. I did the long ride because I was like wanting to get fitness. But I would say Badlands was my sort of number one goal, and I actually was not planning on doing Across Andies until a week after I got back home from Badlands. So it was very last minute, but I just wanted to race again. I couldn't help myself. I've become addicted to it. So I just was like, oh, there's this other race. It's in Chile. I'm going to go.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
So you really didn't approach a season from like an A race, B race kind of a thing. It was just, these are things I'm going to go do.
Yeah. I think with ultra cycling, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm a very like free flowing kind of person when it comes to like training and picking. I don't think I really have A or B races. Just like races that I guess I think about and I'm like, okay, I really want to do well in that. But last year, I guess you could consider Badlands was my like A race, which is funny because I got second at it, but I got first at two other races that technically weren't my A race. So I don't know.
Now, I remembered like some of your recap on Badlands. It was like, it was definitely, I think there were some things you were talking about, some takeaways where you learned something, like stopping at restaurants and spending 4 hours.
Yeah. I think stop time is my hardest thing in general with ultra cycling, but Badlands was my first ride that was more than 30 hours. So it was like a huge learning curve where for those who don't know, Badlands is, I think it was 480 miles or something. It's 750K or something like that. I can't remember. You forget. Anyway, it's a long ride and it took me 62 hours or something. And so that was the longest I had ridden. And I just had never experienced multiple nights where I wasn't sleeping. And so the second night was a huge struggle for me. And just like learning all of these things, it's sort of, you kind of get, I don't know what the saying is, but you just kind of get thrown in the water and you got to figure it out. So that was my first time. Sink or swim. That was my first time. I definitely sunk, but I was able to come out of it and I swam to the finish. So that's good. Or I rode to the finish. But yeah, I learned a lot at that race, which was one of the reasons why I want to do Andies, because I was like, I learned all these things. I need to use them now, or maybe I'll forget them. So,
was Badlands your first like out of state or out of country event like that too?
Yeah, totally. When I was a road racer, I raced in Canada once, and I've been to other countries and ridden my bike, but it was the first time I had raced my bike anywhere but the US, and it was the first time I had raced over 30 hours. So it was a lot of like firsts for me. For sure.
Jumped right in, and
that's a headache trap.
Yeah.
Flying with a bike. I mean, let's face it, Canada. That's not really like a country. I mean,
unless you're Michael Scott. Yeah.
But that distance of flying with a bike and then having to deal with all the stress.
Logistics.
The logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, great word.
Yeah, I was really lucky. One of our sponsors kind of basically helped me with a lot of things. I stayed in a house with a bunch of Schwalbe athletes, the tire company, and so we had our housing figured out, and like I didn't have to worry about getting a rental car. Like all I did was get in a car and get driven to the place. And they had some people that had done the race before, and so it was like I was sort of being guided, and I wasn't there by myself. That was really helpful.
That's
huge.
It
was super helpful.
Yeah,
mentally that's huge.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the angst out of the the pre-performance component. It's like that's huge.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah.
So
that was Badlands.
the route for Race Across the Andies. Let's see. I'm looking at the numbers.
I pulled that off bikepacking.com.
Okay, 12,000.
Yeah, 633 miles.
600 and roughly half paved, half unpaved. Correct.
Yeah. I would say like 60-40 maybe.
Okay.
And unpaved is not like there's a lot of gravel roads like what we have here in the Mid-Atlantic, but there were a lot of not roads like what we have here. There's some really, really intense gravel there. Very like really big rocks. Stuff like that you're like, wow, this is really hard to ride on kind of thing.
Gobstopper rocks.
It's more like mountain bike. It sounds like it's more like something that would be akin to riding with a mountain bike here on the East Coast.
Yeah, and like just like steep stuff that's like, there may be some big rocks in the road, and it just like you lose your wheel and you aren't able to keep riding. So there was a little bit of hike-a-bike. If you're the man at the front, you're probably not hike-a-biking. You're probably able to ride it all. But yeah, it was definitely, a lot of the Europeans said that the gravel was more technical than what they ride over there, which for Badlands, it's the most technical. I mean, I've never ridden much gravel in Europe, but it was very technical because it was just, again, like on these crazy riverbeds or whatever. So I'm not one to judge, but that's what they said, and they've done a lot of races. So I will say Andes was a little bit technical in terms of gravel.
I don't know if you want to start with, since we're talking technical side, your bike setup.
So I have a 3T Ultra, which is their ultra cycling bike. It allows for wider tires. And I've got ETAP Eagle on there. I really like to be able to spin. So I've got a 1052 cassette with I had a 40 tooth chain ring in the front, and I actually changed to the bigger chain ring. I was riding a 38 for Badlands, and that was a mistake. I should have stuck with the 38. Although the profile of Andes looks like it's flat, it's not. It's got a lot of climbing. It's just like kind of packed into certain spots, and then there's some like flat sections in the middle. So anyway, I didn't have enough climbing gear, but I survived. And then what do I have? I have Schwalbe G1 RS tires, which has got like a kind of foul tread in the middle with knobs on the side. That's my favorite tire. I rode that at Unbound. I rode that at Badlands and Across Andes.
That's a great profile, I think. That's
I love it.
There's a lot of tires that are fitting that bill right now. It's a great profile.
Yeah, I don't really like a lot of knobby. I think I have enough skill technically that I can ride any tire, but I would prefer to not feel slow when I'm riding, like on road or something like that. So that's why I went with that tire for the race. And then what else did I have? Hunt Carbon 35X wide wheels, which I've ridden. Again, I rode them at Unbound, Badlands, and Andes. So I really, really like those. They feel really good, and the rim is super wide, so it kind of makes your tire, it widens it out a little bit.
Makes it ride a little fatter than the advertised.
Yeah. I had a Wahoo. I had the new Element, which was awesome, and it basically they updated a bunch of things, but it has a USB-C port in it now. which is great for me. It means that I only have to carry a USB-C and an iPhone cable, which is important for like all of the like gear that you're carrying. Like having simplicity is really nice. So that was a good change for me. And what else? I had Apidura bags. So I carried all my extra junk, like extra clothes, tools, extra tubes, and then food, basically, all in a bunch of different Apidura bags that I had. And I think before the race, my bike weighed like maybe 37 or 38 pounds. And I think that was weighted. That had all of the water in it. So I have a 1.5 liter bladder in my bike frame bag, and then 3 12-liter bottles of water on different water bottle cages on my bike. And
a lot of water.
Yeah, it's a lot. I didn't always have it all full, but I've learned, for me it's better to have more water than not. So yeah, that's my bike setup. I also, right before the race, somebody backed into, not before the race, like 2 days before, somebody backed into my bike, leaned up like against one of those A-frames. And like, thankfully I noticed it a couple hours later. The seat stay was cracked, and so I needed a new bike frame, and was able to work with some people that lived in Chile and Santiago, which is the like main city where most people live. And they helped me get a new frame, and we swapped over the parts. It was a very stressful 24 hours before the race.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like mentally,
how does that impact you?
Yeah.
You know, when I got to the start line, everything was fine, but it definitely affected my sleep. And I think by accident, I took a liquid IV that had caffeine in it the night before, and not one that was just like hydration. So then I just really didn't sleep the night before. So yeah, definitely will always make sure to check that I'm not taking a caffeine hydration thing. But yeah, just a little stressful. Thankfully it worked out. I mean, I was pretty lucky. A lot of people that lived in Santiago that came for the race were like, yeah, that would probably never happen. You're very lucky that was that happened for you. So yeah, it was cool that it worked out, and that I was able to get to the finish in one piece. So, but I got a new bike color, so that's cool. That was fun. It was a nice little change up.
That's the same model you had before, because I knew you were raving about that terracotta one.
I know, so sad. It was a terracotta color, and her name was Terry-cotta.
Cool.
I know, I'm crushed that she has been decommissioned, but now I have a blue one that's named Villarrica, which is the name of the volcano. There are 3 volcanoes around where we rode, but it's the name of one of the volcanoes.
That's awesome.
That I actually hiked up to. Yeah, so I hiked up, and I was just, like, this is the perfect thing to name my new bike. Very fitting.
Was that hike before or after the race?
It was before. I was there like 2 weeks before the race. One of my older brothers and I went for like a little vacation and to do some like recon of the route. So I kind of knew where some of the resupply spots were. Yeah, so that was a nice little trip before the race. Chile is super cool. For anyone listening, you should really go to Chile. It is such a cool place. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, did you go to Badlands as early as you did down there to prep, or is that something that you learned from Badlands that you were going to go? Okay.
Yeah, I went early to Chile. Well, I sort of just wanted to make sure I, did my due diligence of like knowing the culture a little bit more and like things a little more before I actually did the race. And also when you're traveling to go to a race that's in another country, just going for the race and leaving seems like a little bit sad to me. It's like, well, if you're going to this wonderful place, you should also experience it outside of the race, because when you're racing, you see stuff, but it's not the same. So yeah, going early was definitely like to help with all of those things. And then also like a couple weeks before I was leaving, I was like telling my brother that I was going, and he was like, "You want me to join you?" And I was like, "I would love that." So he booked the flight, and that was really fun.
What were some of the other things? You said you'd learned things at Badlands that you took into Andes. What were some of the other things that, the takeaways from Badlands?
I think the biggest thing I learned was like resupply is super important, and knowing where the resupply places are is really important. But also, I didn't have enough cell phone service with my US cell phone carrier in Spain to be able to look up where things were. So like when I would get to a town in Spain, I would stay on the track and like not really know if there was something off the track, like a grocery store that I could go to. So I was like not getting the best kind of resupply because I was like, okay, here's a cafe and they only have these items and these are the only things I can get. Whereas like if I had gone to the grocery store one block over and I could have used my cell phone to look, then I would have been able to get more food and probably feel better. It's like if you don't eat enough, you just feel like garbage. I mean, we all know what it feels like to bonk, but just like imagine extended bonk for like a day. It's so terrible. So yeah, it's pretty terrible. So, and just like taking the second when I was there to like be like, okay, either I'm in the lead or I'm behind, but like I need to focus on me for like right now and make sure I get the right amount of resupply and not just like skip this water fountain here because it's going to save me 30 seconds when later down the road I'm going to be dying for the water and mad I didn't stop.
It's the long game. It's a long game. You got to play the long game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. And just like really, like making sure you're doing all the things that you need to do. Also, the other thing was like the resupply. A lot of the places in Spain were like restaurant style. Or like I said, they may be a grocery store next door, but I was too oblivious to like look at my phone or try and find it and whatever. But just like having enough food on you where like if you get to the resupply and they don't have what you're looking for, like you still can survive on whatever else you might have stuffed in your bag somewhere.
Yeah.
I think for Andes, I like basically lived on the food that I brought for like almost 24 hours. Like I did stop and get some food, but mostly the food that I had brought with me at the start of the race, which added a lot of weight, saved me because most of the places, it was Sunday. We started the race on Sunday, so everything is closed. Like I couldn't find anything to get really much. So just like taking those little things into consideration, but also just like what worked on my bike, what didn't work, like figuring out like, okay, I can actually go without sleeping. Things like that. Or just like you learn them as you go and you get better each time. But yeah, it's a lot for your first one.
I just can't imagine this riding through the night and then just keep going the next day and then riding through the night and keep going the next day. That's just that. How much did you actually sleep?
I think it's totally doable. And like there are people out there like Sophiane and Lael who will actually go totally 24 or 48 hours without sleeping. And I think I could probably do that. But for me, I told you guys I hadn't slept that last night before, so I was really tired. So I did sleep on and off a couple times the first night, like maybe 8 to 10 minute naps, where like I was so tired that I just needed to lay down. I just left all my kit on, even my helmet, and I would lay down on like a bus station bench for like I don't know, however I set my alarm for 15 minutes, but I would wake up halfway between, just get up and keep riding because I was cold or whatever. But yeah, the helmet was great because it would like hold my head on the wooden bench. And the first place I slept, I was so tired. It smelled like pee, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sleep on this wooden bench here. And I fell asleep like within seconds, laying down like, It smells terrible, but just dealt with it.
You don't smell when you're sleeping.
No, you don't. You sure don't.
My problem is I would lay my head down like that and I'd wake up like 10 hours later.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what happened?
When it's cold, you'll fall asleep and depending on like, you take a nap sometimes and you just like wake up. You're like, oh, that was great. Or if you go back to sleep after that, you wake up like 30 or 40 minutes later and you feel like you got hit by a bus.
Yeah.
It's like your body's circadian rhythm. It's the same thing. So like for me, making sure I don't sleep more than 15 minutes really helps because it's like your body cools down just a little bit, but not too much. And then you can get up and keep going. Yeah. And I was like, this is probably a good idea. I put my feet up against it because it's a bus station. At least in Chile, they have them everywhere. And I would put my legs up against the wall. So while I was sleeping, my legs were elevated, kind of like hopefully helping move that, swelling and whatever back down my legs and into my heart.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that probably helped a little bit.
Nice endurance pro tip right there.
The boys
Pro
were
tip.
looking. The boys were looking at each other, and I was like, "Yeah, we do legs up the wall and yoga all the time. Like, what are you guys
It's
talking
so good
about?
for you.
It's so
It's
good for
amazing.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm start sleeping like that.
Yeah. Maybe just take a nap first like that and see how it
Yeah,
goes.
you'll get stuck. You're old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you might wake up and your feet are, asleep or something.
Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. But with the sleeping thing, like I think it's doable, and I think everybody, if they really, really wanted it, they could probably do it. It's not super great for you, and it's definitely not something you really want to practice, because like the number of times that you miss a night of sleep directly affects like your cognitive ability later in life. Like they say, if you don't sleep enough, you can get Alzheimer's, whatever. So like saving it for races, I think, is important. But yeah, I think 15-minute naps or less, like take one every couple hours. But the biggest thing for me is taking a caffeine pill right when I wake up, or like right when I wake up, right when it's morning, because that's the time where I'm like struggling the most, because it's like sunny, but it's still cold, and there's this weird. So if you take a caffeine pill, it kind of helps jumpstart the system.
Get you back into like a regular rhythm. And I didn't even thought about something. That's not something you can really train into an event. I mean, that's all just like a mental
You don't
thing.
want to train into it. Yeah, you just have to decide one day that you're going to do it. And like for me, I guess I did Rockstar and I did Unbound without sleeping. I remember the first time I did Unbound in 2021, I was like laid down with my friend Rachel and we did it together, and we're like, we're going to take a nap, and we set a 15-minute timer, and like could not fall asleep. Now, like I lay down and almost instantly I'm out. So I like those little naps, they mean a lot, but like, yeah, just practicing while you're actually racing is probably the best move, I would say.
And figuring out what works for your body. And I think it sounds to me like you possibly, your body has to kind of be prepared for that. And you don't really know that you can do it until you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like at Badlands, I probably could have gone through the night, but I wasn't confident that I could have done it. And so instantly out of the gate, I like was a naysayer, And then after I saw that like that's what it took to win races, I was like, oh hell no, I got to do this now. So for me, it was just like mindset, I guess. I guess that's what it all comes down to. Mindset.
You talked about, I guess we kind of jumped right in.
It's okay. We bounce around all over the place.
I wanted to go back real quick because we went to sleeping, but fuel. You did say you ate your own food for 24 hours. Was that Badlands or Andies?
At Andies, I made a huge mistake of not carrying enough food at the beginning of. Well, actually, I did carry a bunch of food. I carried all these kind bars, but by like, I don't know, halfway through the first 24, I mean, like maybe 18 hours in, I couldn't eat another one of them. And like it just required too much chewing. And so I actually, after one of the resupply places, like not really getting enough food because I don't eat meat and that's all they eat in Spain, I threw up and just like it was terrible. And what I now know is that I need to take a gel 10 minutes before I'm actually going to try and eat something, because it's like if you try and eat something and you're in such a low spot that it can make you feel sick. So if you take the gel and then you get energy and then you can spend the time eating, it makes a whole world of difference. At least for me, that's what I've learned.
It's like it wakes your stomach up.
Yeah, and like gives you enough energy to get through the eating without feeling sick. Because like I think a lot of the time when you have an upset stomach, it's usually your stomach is like, what is going on? So if it has enough already in there to like stabilize, I guess, I don't know. I'm just talking about what worked for me, but try it. It might work for you. I don't know.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's funny, and you're right. I mean, the things that work for one person in this ultra endurance kind of world may not necessarily play out for the next person. Yeah. You got to really kind of figure out what works for you, and then kind of move in that direction, and then kind of reinforce it. Which is like like when you're saying you learned so much at Badlands that you were able to take into Andies. That it sounds like that's what you got to do. So anybody out there is thinking about
just
something
gotta try it out.
Yeah.
So what food did you pack for Andies, and then what were you finding to eat for the second part of it?
So I packed probably maybe like 24 or 28 gels. I can't remember.
Wow.
And I'd never been a gel person, but I was like, I got to figure something out. And I've started using the Huma gels. I'm not sponsored. I spend my hard-earned dollars on these gels because they actually work for me. And they're a huge game changer. I basically took one like every hour, every 2 hours, depending on like if I had eaten a big sandwich. But yeah, so I brought all of these gels, and I also brought some drink mix, and maybe some other. I didn't really bring that much other food other than like a couple like Chilean cookie. You know, like you go to the store and they have all these cookies. Like I think I brought like a couple like packs of cookies and put them in my pocket, and had some like sandwich. I forget exactly what I had, but like I made like some sort of sandwich, something that I put in my pockets. Like maybe it was like a PB&J or something. And that lasts me about the 24 hours. And then after that, they make these, well, they eat a lot of hot dogs. Actually, they just eat a lot of meat in Chile. And I don't eat meat, so that makes it more challenging. But the hot dogs are called completos, and you can get a completo anywhere. But you can also get basically the same thing without the hot dog, and they do like loaded. So like you can go and get this loaded hot dog with like your heart's dreams on top of the hot dog. And so what I would do is just get it without the hot dog, and basically they like will take avocado and whip it like one of those, like, you know how you like use a frother for your milk? They will literally use that for the avocado. It's amazing. It makes it delicious.
Wow. That sounds good.
It does. I have yet to try it at home. I need to. But yeah, they'll like whip the avocado, and then they'll put like tomatoes, and you can basically like form together a sentence of like bread, avocado, and tomato, and they'll put it on a sandwich. So I ate a bunch of those. Probably ate like at least 10 avocados over the span of like 2.5 days.
Avocados are great go food. There's just no.
They are.
Oh, no way.
They're so good, and they have a lot of. I mean, they have so much fat in them, which I have heard other people who do ultras have an issue with when they're racing, that it actually makes their stomach really upset. But I haven't run into that problem, which is really good because I like avocados a lot. And a couple places I would go, and I couldn't really find food that was like quick. Like I didn't want to sit down at a restaurant, but then I would find like there was some sort of like grocery store, but it's not the same as the grocery stores we have here where it's like got everything. It's like there's one place that has like, you know, the chips and the beer and the wine, and the other place that has the produce. So I basically would like buy bread at one place and then an avocado at another place. And then I would buy cheese and like make my own sandwich outside the store. So I did that a couple times, where I just like I needed actual food. I needed some sort of real food, which I try and do like once a day when I'm racing, and not just eat gels or bars or other crap. But I ate a lot of Doritos. Actually, I was putting the Doritos on the sandwich with the avocado as as well, and that was pretty tasty.
That sounds even better. That sounds wonderful.
It was so good. Yeah, it was really good. So I was just like cramming as many Doritos onto the sandwich as I could with all of the fixings. And like a couple places, like now I've learned that I'll get one for now and then one for later. So I'll eat the one while I'm like leaving, and then I have one in my pocket, and I'll eat it in like 3 or 4 hours.
My kids' swim team used to do the walking tacos, where they would take the Frito bag and like squish them up, and then just open the bag and put everything in it and just like scoop it out and eat it. That was really good. It was really good.
So yummy. I could have that right now.
So how long does it take you to recover from something like a Badlands or Andes?
You know, your body is surprisingly resilient. For me, honestly, like 2 days later, I'm ready to ride again. I know that sounds crazy, but like I may not be able to ride for very long, but just like the movement really helps. Moving that lactic acid around. You're so stiff that it helps you kind of like loosen up, which normally like after another kind of race, I'm not like, oh, I need to spin. But like really after one of these races, I definitely feel like I need to spin within like 2 days, just move the body around. And then honestly, within like 5 days, I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready to be back riding again. And I don't I felt that after both of the 2 ultras that I've done. I don't know how it would be on like longer ones. Those were both about 3 days. I know the people that do like the 2-week kind of long ultras, it's a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's like 2 or 3 weeks of like really no riding. But for the shorter ones, it's really not that bad. You just make sure you sleep.
Wait a minute. There are longer things than.
Yeah, there are a lot of actually. The ultra cycling world is like, it's sort of exploding right now. But yeah, I mean, there's the Tour Divide, which is, depending on how long it takes you, like, I don't know, 14 to 20 days. And then there's this really big one in, I think I'm going to say it wrong. It's not Kyrgyzstan. It's one of the countries in there, but it's the Silk Road Mountain Race.
Yes.
And I forget how long that is, but it's really long too.
Are those on your radar?
Maybe next year for the Silk Road Mountain Race. But I am actually I'm doing Tour Divide this year, in June. So at the Grand Depart in June from Banff, I will be there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, something I said. Yeah, I said I'd never do it, but when I say never, no one will believe me because I feel like I say that about everything, and I'm like, it's fine, I'll just do it. It's okay.
Why would you say you'd never do it?
I always felt like it was too long, and honestly, I always felt like it would be boring. But I like the idea of the challenge. So
it's kind of like riding we've talked about that on the towpath. It's like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I think it's not the same as the towpath. It's a little more varied, but you're right. The towpath does get. Yeah, I've done the first part of Trans Virginia, and I remember riding on it, and I was just like, "This is so boring."
Like the same thing. So it doesn't matter what the thing is. If it's the same thing over and over and over again, it's it begins to kind of wear on you.
I actually like the idea of doing the same ride over and over and over and over again.
I do the same thing.
Like I know, like I thrive in the monotony of it. Like I like what expected. I mean, when we go mountain bike riding, I like doing the same loop over and over and over again.
I hate that.
Like to me, it's really nice to know like I should change my gear here. Like it's
you're learning too.
Yeah, you're learning.
You're learning a new discipline just with you riding your mountain bike. So it helps you to go when I did this last time, this is how I'm going to approach it differently this time, and I wanted to figure out what works better. It makes perfect sense. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Actually, it makes tremendous amount of sense.
I like the same thing.
Joey, back up.
Hey, I guess it's not a funny story. When at one point in time I said when I was 25 I was going to do like Tour Divide or was it Trans-American, whatever. Yeah. And then I was like, all right, when I'm 30, and then a year later, but I never did any. But I was trying to compare whether I'd be more afraid of the bears or the cars.
Bears or cars? Bears versus
I was like
cars.
My this or that for like a long distance thing.
Yeah, this or that. I don't know. I'm not afraid of bears, but it seems like everyone that talks about it says they're pretty afraid of the bears. So maybe I should be afraid of the bears. I don't know.
Do you have bear spray?
Well, yeah, I'll get some. Yeah, I don't have any right now. We don't have bears. I mean, like, there are not many bears, but yes, I will definitely carry bear spray with me.
Healthy respect, I think, is the rule of the day. I don't think you should fear anything, but you do need to have healthy respect for things that can harm you.
I'd fear a grizzly.
I'm right there. I'm with you, Cynthia. I don't feel that fear serves any good purpose, but as long as you understand, you've got to have that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And it is a different animal. I mean, literally a different animal. A grizzly on the divide versus a little black bear running along the parkway.
Yeah.
That's literally like I've definitely seen my fair share of little bears running across the parkway.
Yeah. And everybody's trying to see those. I mean, it's like, I saw a bear. As it scurries into the bushes and runs away.
The only place I would like to see a bear is on Google Images. Like, that is it. Like, that is the only place I would like to run into a bear.
Bears are cool. I like bears.
They
bears
are
awesome.
They're super smart.
Let's talk about Gravista.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gravista.
Well, I had a blanked out. Is there anything that we didn't cover you want to talk about the Andies? We kind of brushed over it bit by bit. And it's kind of fun seeing the different things you do.
Yeah. Andy's is super cool. I definitely a very now I've done I guess 3-4 different ultras, and
Yeah.
the scene at Across the Andies is awesome. It's super positive and welcoming, and everyone is important. And I think that's what ultra cycling brings to the table is like, yeah, you may be able to go without sleeping, but everyone who's doing it is a freaking badass. And so, yeah, I think that Andy's does a good job of like supporting all of the people and making everyone feel like they matter.
Now you're running tip of the spear. Are there people that do these events that take, 3, 4, 5 times the volume of time to do it?
So they usually have a cutoff.
Okay.
And so typically like the cutoff for the Andes and for Badlands is a week. And it
Okay.
took me like 2.5, 3 days. So yeah, about 2 times as long. And then, for the faster men, maybe like 3 times as long.
Are any of these lined up for a repeat?
Yeah, I think I will actually almost have an identical. I'm going to do Unbound again because I feel like I won it last year. So I need to go back and maybe try and defend the title. And then I have unfinished business at Badlands. So I got to go back and win that. And then I'm going to do Andes again, but they change the route every 2 years. And so it's actually going to start in Patagonia this year. So in Chile, I'm very excited about it. So yeah, I'm going to go back and do that. Yeah, I had so much fun there, so I got to go back.
It's same, but not same, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with ultras, it's like there's so many. It's kind of hard to say I'm like doing 2 of the same things I did last year. And I don't think I'll do that again in the future, but I sort of like I had so much fun at Andes and I have unfinished business at Badlands that this year I've got to go back to both of them.
Now, we were talking about this earlier. The coverage of the women's side of some of these ultra events, I'll say it. It seems lacking. I think it's challenging because it's hard when you're out in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, we have trackers, and depending on the race, some trackers they give you a tracker to use. Sometimes you have to use your own. And sometimes the trackers aren't super great. And then, you're a woman, you may not be at the front of the race. So, you sort of have to have 2 separate media cars, one covering the men and one covering the women. So I think it is challenging. I think Across Andes, the race themselves did a fabulous job of covering, like I said, everybody. Like they were focused on the people that were in the front, the middle, and the back. That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
they were really, really wonderful. I think Badlands also did a super great job. They weren't posting on social as much, but I could tell that they cared to capture content of me and the other women who were like racing at the front. Because actually Badlands, the race is really close. I think like the top 5 women all finished within like 9 hours of each other, which is pretty cool. And the top 5 women all got like top 35 or something. So that's also really cool.
That is. That's awesome.
So
that's
I know
awesome.
It's super cool. Yeah. Anyway, I won't get into any like this dude or that guy, everybody's important. And I think like coverage of the men at the front, people want to see that. But yeah, I think also a lot of people want to see the women's race, and it's just a challenge. Like, how do you make it a priority? It's just up to the race director, and each race director has their own MO. And it's also like a lot of times in the races, like there'll be like a new person. Like, I'm still new to ultra cycling. So like, maybe at Badlands, like people didn't really know who I was. And I didn't win. Yeah, hopefully. And then like obviously Lael Wilcox is very well known in the cycling world. Like anybody who's anybody really knows who Lael is. So
who? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
The fact that my mom knows who Lael is. So, if my mom knows who Lael is, then, but yeah, I think it's just a challenge, and it's like the race director and the races themselves have to decide that they want to provide coverage or focus on documenting the women at the front. because if they don't, then it's up to the rider's potential photographer that's come to document for them, for their sponsors, to provide that content. And it's just like, it's this weird gray, like, it's just like it's a weird spot, because then there's all of this like controversy about like whether or not somebody should really be documenting at all.
That is a tough nut to crack, isn't it? Because it does come down to, I mean, the media that's covering these events at the level that folks like us want to see it, and want to see it before, during, and after. They don't have the resources to go out and follow an entire race. So they do depend somewhat upon the organizers, the race organizers, to provide them with access to the coverage. So it's kind of I can see where it's a sticky kind of wicket.
Yeah, and like a race will, if a rider has like any sort of media, they actually will charge a media license. And that just helps because the media team has to carry, if they're covering a rider, the like race director, depending on the race, each race is different. But like the integrity of the race and the race directors to follow the like quote unquote ultra cycling rules is like that the media car gets a tracker, and the media car and the rider they're following aren't together for like that long, because they want to make sure the rider's not getting help from the media car. And like, there's like the thoughts of like, well, if that person is even talking to the media car at all, then they're getting like quote unquote like a boost or help or whatever. So it's just like
a mental shot in the arm.
Yeah. Each race director makes the shots, and they decide what kind of rules. And I think, this is my opinion, and I'm going to say my opinion, even though everyone has their own opinion. My opinion is that people want to see that stuff, like that are following it. My mom wants to see it. Other women in the cycling world want to see it. Other men, other people want to see that content, and it should be available, and it should be abundant, and it shouldn't be restricted because it makes the race or ultra cycling like weak or like look bad. Like, people want to see that, and it's encouraging to those who will maybe never do an ultra, but like it might get them out on their bike today, Those kinds of things I think that's why people watch cycling in general, a lot of times at least.
So. I think the ultra stuff particularly qualifies for that because of the adventure aspect of it.
Correct.
Totally.
It's like, I know that I'm never going to go ride, a Tour de France, even a single stage, but you know what? If I see a piece of some Unbound stuff, I could certainly get excited about going out and doing a 50 or 100, or, it could really jazz me up to go do something. So, yeah. Well, I think we've got a long ways to go. I hope, and it is my hope, and I think that we're at a point in time where enough voices from everybody, from men and women, we're coming to the forefront and saying, hey, like let's even this playing field. Let's see some change, I think is what we're looking for. And nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing ever is perfect. I don't think we can expect that, but we can certainly work to hold them to a higher standard. And I think maybe that's the end game on that.
Yeah. And I think also, like it's up to the riders to decide, like, unless it's a new race, like I know the like MO of the race director and how they feel about media. And like, that's why you'll see, I don't know, for example, like certain high level riders who usually do have a media team follow them. They won't do a certain race or a certain, like if a race director is very strict on these things, they won't do those races because like their sponsors are paying for that media to be created. And if the media team isn't allowed or doesn't get a media license for that racer who's going, then the sponsors aren't getting the benefit of part of why they're paying the rider to ride. So
They
You know,
they
it's
don't have
like,
the ability to create that 25-minute YouTube video, and
Yeah.
you know, without
or,
that,
yeah.
I see it.
Mhm.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it, and it makes good sense. It makes
Mhm.
very good sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
Gravista. Want to talk about Gravista?
Sure.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear some of the details for Gravista for 2023. This is, I think, the third or fourth year for Gravista.
Yeah, third year. Yep.
Third year.
Yeah, so it's in May this year. May 13th is the day. And same distances of last year. So actually, they're just a wee bit shorter because we took out the downtown route. So we've got 65.5 miles and 8,500 feet. And we have 31.5 with 4,500 feet.
Wow.
So a lot of elevation gain. I know it's crazy. And it is a challenging ride, but super pretty. Goes up and over the Blue Ridge. Starts in Buena Vista, Virginia, which is in the like south middle west of the state of Virginia. It's like about an hour from Harrisonburg, about an hour from Roanoke, an hour from Charlottesville. So it's pretty close to the towns. It's easy to get to. There's camping, which is pretty cool. There's like a river right next to the park where the race is at. So it's got a lot of good vibes. And it's actually like a whole weekend. So Friday we have rider check-in at the brewery, which is super fun. Live music, like just a really good hangout spot. And that's at Heliotrope Brewing in Lexington. And then on Sunday we have a little shakeout ride that actually the women's team that I race for leads. And that leaves from Lexington also. We have coffee, sponsored by Wahoo. So that will be really great to have people that are still in town interested in doing like a short 1.5 hour spin out ride, kind of like community based, no drop ride. So yeah, that's on Sunday. So hopefully we see a good turnout this year. I am working diligently on the race, and I'm really excited for some of the changes that we made just to make it safer and a little bit different. It's fun to change things up. I think having everything the same every single year, I think kind of gets boring. So just a couple changes here and there kind of adds a little spice to it.
Yeah. Have you got a route that just like rolls around the start a little bit? I'm kidding.
If you want, there is a kids race that starts at 11.
Yes,
You're
I will
welcome
win
to
that.
join it.
I will
Yes.
win. Actually, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, my niece actually won last year, and she is a
Nice.
crusher. So you better watch out.
Coming for you, old man. I'm coming for you. That's fantastic. Well, I don't know how you find time with all of the things that you've got going on in real life, in race life, and the training you have to do to put together an event like this. So I say thank you for that, because it's important.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Let me talk about the crazy racing I do, and also Gravista. It's a big part of my yearly time that I spend. So yeah, I really like to bring people to the Blue Ridge and show them the roads that I use to train. So
It's beautiful
fun to have
country.
everybody.
Absolutely
It's so
beautiful country. Just
yeah.
oh, the best of the best. Any sponsors you want to give some shout outs for either your riding efforts or for Gravista?
Yeah, well, so I'm on the Velocio Exploro women's team, and we have a bunch of really wonderful sponsors. Velocio is one of the main ones, and 3T. They've been great. And then for Gravista this year, we have Hunt Wheels, Wahoo. I think we're going to have Athletic Brewing again. So post-race non-alcoholic beers, which is wonderful. That's actually my favorite because I get the leftovers.
I'm kind of getting into
me
that.
too.
Yeah.
I love a non-alcoholic beer. I'm trying to drink less. So actually, until further notice, I'm trying not to drink anything in the calendar year of 2023. I've been successful at 18 days. I'm proud of it.
Congratulations.
But yeah, Athletic Brewing is wonderful. And now there's so many not NA beers. Like you could just go to the grocery store and buy a 6-pack of NA beers. It still costs you $11, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, even some of the low alcohol content stuff is what I've been kind of interested in, just because it's really nice after a ride or just hanging out to be able to like have more than just one beer and kind of be able to be okay. It's like, I like that. Yeah, I know.
Having one beer that's like 6% after a 60 or 80-mile ride, you get back and you have one sip and you're like, oh God, that was a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've anyway.
I don't like
We've
beer
all
after
been
a
there.
ride.
Joey's giving me dirty looks because
Birch beer after a ride on tap is my thing this year.
Or
Yeah.
ginger beer. Delicious.
Oh yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you once again, Cynthia, for joining us and for talking about your stuff, about Gravista, all these things. Are you going to stick around for this or that? Please say yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put one thing I forgot. So we're going to put some links to the show notes. You're on Instagram at Watt_wagon. People want to follow you, which I would highly recommend. Cynthia, do you have
also, I do have a YouTube channel that I recently started.
Okay.
And if you're interested in watching, I put up a video actually today of my race at Andes. So part 2, part 1 was like my little vacation with my brother. Part 2 was the race. And then part 3 is like the post-race party, like all the fun stuff.
Cool.
I mean, the race is the fun stuff too, but yeah.
I know what I'm doing later on. I'm going to watch that because that's cool. What's the YouTube channel name?
It is also at Watt_wagon. I think it might just be Wattwagon. Actually, there's no underscore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that YouTube just began the process of giving people like at names.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, because like before you had to have
easier.
you had to be like monetized to be able to make a name.
Yeah.
So
it's nice that you can actually do that now. It's very pleasant.
Yeah.
So we'll put links to all of that stuff in the show notes. Do you have like a website for yourself that where you've actually
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's literally CynthiaFrazier.com.
Excellent.
Look me up. Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to put links to all that stuff in the show notes so that people can find you. I'm sure they're going to want to follow. I'm an avid dot watcher.
Oh hell yes!
And I
love a good dot watch.
I guess it was Unbound. I believe I was staffing a tour. It was either Unbound or Badlands, one of the two. I can't remember which one. I was staffing a tour.
You kept texting me.
Yeah, I kept texting Joey. I was like, the people in the vans were like, "Shut up already!" Because every time I would stop, I'd be like, I'd pull up my phone and I would find it. And it's hard to watch on a phone sometimes. It's kind of
it
tough.
can be hard depending on the platform you're using. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into this or that. Cynthia, I'm going to give it to you first so that you, since you're our guest, then Jess, you're next.
Got it.
And then I'm going to give an answer, and then Joey's up. Okay, on a ride, old people on phones or loose dogs?
Old people on phones.
Yeah.
You can like yell at a dog and it'll go away most of the time, at least.
What's your go-to yell at a dog?
Go on, get.
I always tell them to get off the sofa. Yeah, because they hear that.
That's a good one too.
They hear that, all dogs hear like get off the furniture, get off the sofa or whatever. And they do it. They take notice.
They take note.
Well, I thought of this or that while Joey told me to go really fast, by a house because there was like dogs, but it was like a hill. And I was like, there's no way I can get up fast on this hill. Like zombie apocalypse. I'm done. I'm the last one.
Yep.
Like it's it. So, and I was like yelling at him, like, Joey, how dare you think I could sprint up that hill? This is the fastest I go. Like, so I'm going to go, I'm also going to go loose dogs because I honestly think if I said like, go home, like they would have went home.
Well, some do, some don't.
Maybe they would have had my.
But it was just earlier on that ride where down in St. Mary City where we had the lady come out of the driveway in the van that was looking at her phone and almost clock all four of us. So this is kind of a tough one.
I know, but I still think loose dogs. I think dogs are smarter than humans sometimes. So.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. Dogs are actually smarter and can be convinced easier than somebody staring at their phone who's oblivious to their surroundings. Joey.
I might go old people.
Joey has past trauma with loose dogs.
I've actually been attacked by a dog on my bike.
Oh, me too. It's terrible.
Yeah, I was younger, but then back in the dirty Kansas days when I got chased in that cornfield, it was terrifying. They weren't like my dog. They were like foaming it. They were vicious.
Yeah.
Oh,
Real scary. The old person, you just
you can always stop. I mean, we ride at what?
We were going pretty. Yeah,
we do 12 miles an hour up that hill, so it's not like we were.
I just got to be faster than you.
You just got to be.
Everybody has to be faster than me. I was the one in the back, and I was the one saying it was
The
not
key
sprinting.
with dogs is actually, unless they're foaming at the mouth, just stop. And like, if you stop, a lot of times they'll come up to you and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah,
That's my move.
I don't think,
Or they're getting a water bottle squirt in the face.
They
Yeah,
don't.
that too.
They don't know. Well, there's obviously some dogs like your aggressive dogs that are problematic.
Yeah.
And I think whether you're on the bike or off the bike, I think you may stand a better chance with them with trying to outrun them. But
Some of those are fast.
They see you in glasses and a helmet, and you're dressed weird and you're moving fast. You're like a giant chew toy, basically. So once you kind of stop and talk to them, they realize that you're a person and that you have dominance over them as a human. I don't know.
Maybe we'll see. I got scars.
Okay. Would you rather give up cheese or give up chocolate?
Cheese.
Easy answer.
Yeah, I'm going cheese too. I know it's hard because like pizza has cheese on it, and I would technically not have to eat pizza with cheese. But yeah, I'm still going cheese. I love chocolate. I love cookies. I really love cookies.
I'm going to go with giving up chocolate. Cheese is that's like a food group.
So this is what I do to my students in class. Like wrong, no wrong answer.
Your answer is wrong, buddy. Joey?
Oh, cheese is. I can't eat a lot of cheese. I love cheese.
We would like for you to give up cheese.
So that means you're giving up chocolate, Joey.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
He loves the
Chocolate's not like. I love chocolate. I like Reese's, but I'd rather eat cheese.
Okay, Cynthia, I think this one was written specifically with you in mind. A frame failure before a big ride or a shoe failure?
Oh God, a shoe failure. Because the likelihood that you can find a shoe replacement is probably higher than a frame. I don't know though. That's a hard one.
I wrote that
because basically,
your shoes are your shoes.
They are, but if your bike frame is messed up and you can't get one like I did that was the
Chile.
exact same, then you're dealing with your bike fit is different, and like in the long run, having a different bike fit will mess you up way more than having a different. Like you could duct tape your shoe, depending on what the shoe failure is, you could figure it out.
Yeah.
Like if your boa died, just duct tape it,
Yeah. Jess?
That's why you carry electrical tape in your bike kit in case it happens during the ride, and also a spare cleat just in case.
And bolts. Bolts are the other one.
And a cleat and bolts. Yep.
I personally choose to never ride with my personal mechanic. So, I mean,
So we'll hear Joey's answer.
Yeah.
And now
I can't
so
fix your answer.
technically it's just like whatever Joey can't fix.
I can't fix a frame.
Well, get out your
I
fabrication.
mean, technically you can put carbon wrap around it, but I was not going to do that before I was going to ride 630 miles.
No. Well, since I now ride a titanium frame, that would be quite the failure.
Yeah. Oh.
I would definitely go with a shoe failure over a
shoe malfunction.
Frame. Yeah, shoe malfunction over a frame malfunction. All right, Joey, what's your answer?
I'd probably go shoe.
Yeah.
I'm battling the constant fit change on my current bike. my driver seat post.
Well, we just had the recent group ride where we had people show up and I forgot my shoes. I drove almost 2 hours to come to this ride and I forgot my shoes. And
that's the worst. Man.
Yeah,
that was me on the towpath.
Yeah, but
rode in Crocs.
Yeah, and
but that's not bad. I feel like of all places.
That was
shoes,
the best
path is
the best place. I've mountain biked in Crocs once. It's not horrible. But yeah, no, it's people even choose. I have been supporting a ride where a rider has fallen onto a curb with their frame.
Ooh.
Rolling into a crit.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even break it during a crit. Cracked the frame.
Just dropped it over.
Yeah. It was horrible.
Day done. Yep. Jess, I'm sorry, Cynthia, a whiny dog or a good dog?
Two dog things.
Two dog things?
Wait, am I?
You eat a whiny...
Am I this or that? A good dog?
A good dog. Jess?
Cynthia likes cats.
Are you a cat
I do
person?
like cats.
Yeah, we've had two dogs.
I mean, I'm an animal person. I like all animals.
Whiny...
But cats are they have my heart.
I am also I'm both a dog and a cat person, but our dogs are gone, and so I'm a cat person. Jess, though, whiny dog or how about whiny dog or a good cat?
I don't know. My friend has a cat, and its name is Leonard, and it's a very good cat.
Okay.
So I like hanging out with Leonard. And I like my dog, but he whines, and sometimes like I just got done teaching middle school math all day, and then I come home to a whiny dog, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, like there's nothing worse than explaining to kids why they need to know this, and then coming home to your dog and being like, Blake, stop barking at me. Blake, stop barking at me. So,
well, I love whiny Blake.
You do.
I do. I think he is got some of the best character for a dog that a dog could have.
So far tonight, he has had, since Cynthia has been on, he has had a lick mat, 2 extra cups of food, and now he's eating peanut butter. So he also loves podcast
living the
night.
life.
Yeah, he's living the life.
He loves it when I show up because all he does is eat. Joey?
I like whiny Blake.
Yeah.
He's a little extra. He hasn't been at work in a while with me. A little extra energy.
Yeah, because he's hurt his paw, so he's been housebound.
Yeah.
He's fine.
I took him back to the shop the other day, and he had blood on the floor again.
No way, really?
Yeah, he cut the nail in his store, but Blake's got a lot of character.
And it's my favorite thing in the morning to wake up, and even though I'm like groggy, it's like 4:00 in the morning, like to wake up and take Blake for a walk. Like that is the best hour of my morning.
Sure.
Like from 4 to 5, just outside walking together. And, if anybody's going to attack me, there's my dog. Like, he's going to come too. So I love it's his walk. It's not mine.
I think at the end of the day, animals in general, as companions, they just bring so much to our lives, and I think it's fantastic.
Although I dated a girl whose cat would wake you up with his claws in your arm.
Oh, I have 2 cats now. That's exactly what they love doing.
It'd be fun to have a cute cat with a dog here.
I get clawed in the nose. She'll claw me in the nose in the morning. It's so obnoxious, but wouldn't trade it for the world. All right, thanks, Cynthia. One more time, Cynthia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It's
Thanks, friend.
about time for us to shut it down. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Mid-Atlantic Gravel and Travel and Dirt. If you enjoy the podcast, maybe consider joining our Patreon family. Joey, how can folks get in touch with us?
GravelTravelDirt.com, and our well-used Instagram, Mid-Atlantic Gravel Travel, is at Mid-Atlantic GTD.
Did you load that tire bit, the
I did it through my storage
Everybody
page.
now knows that I don't know what tires I run. Thank you, Brian.
No, that's okay. It was fun. It was so much fun to watch that little video.
Real quick, I was talking to Matt today, so Matt's going to do a Croatan preview next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, excellent.
Fun.
Matt, next week.
And I just loaded up on more wool socks.
Cool.
Nice.
So get
those new ones that came out are really nice.
We sold out of those within 4 days of my store, then Matt sold out a week on the site. So this is your last chance to get another round of these for the season.
Can you save me a pair of those? Can you set them aside?
Yeah,
I'll come get those.
You did not respond when I asked if you wanted a pair.
I didn't.
Anyway,
see that message.
Matt's on next week. There's still a small batch of wool. Sorry, can't speak. And the wool ones are pretty thick. They're super comfortable all day.
Awesome.
Standing or riding.
Mid-Atlantic Gravel Travel and Dirt is recorded this week from right here in Solomons, Maryland, all the way to Lexington, Virginia. Did I get that right, Cynthia? We never did ask you.
Yeah, nailed it.
Thanks for riding along. Until next time, do good, be nice, go slow, respect others.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.